I want to tell you about a bird. We've had a garden on our deck for years. Tomatoes, basils, peppers, the usual. And in all that time, I don't think I've ever once seen a goldfinch land on it. This past weekend, that all changed. I watched a goldfinch land right on the basil, not fly over it, not glance at it. It landed and stayed. And then another one showed up. Turns out goldfinches love basil seed. I had no idea. Welcome back to Learning Experience Design for Changemakers. I'm Renee Koster, Learning Experience Designer and Consultant. And today's a short one, so let's get right into it. Back to the basil. I wasn't looking for that. I wasn't tracking bird visits to my basil plant. It just showed up. And normally, that's the kind of thing you'd notice for about 4 seconds and then move on with your day. But this happened in the middle of something else entirely. I was mid prep for a training call to teach a small group about program evaluation, about milestones and designing what you're going to measure before you build the thing, not after. And then later, once I was on that call, somewhere in there, I ended up on this little tangent about goldfinches. One of the women on the call stopped me. She said, "You need to cut that out and post it. That story was really good." So here we are. And she was right. Not because the story itself is some big revelation, it's a bird eating seeds, but because of what it's actually about. Here's the thing, I wasn't set up to notice the goldfinches. I didn't design my garden to attract them. I wasn't watching for them. I had zero evaluation plan for bird visits. And yet, there it was. Data, just not the kind I was looking for. That's true in the learning experiences we design too. You plan for a specific outcome. You build milestones around it. You design the thing you're trying to measure. And most of the time, that's exactly right. That's the whole idea behind roots to canopy, behind an evidence architecture, behind everything I teach about backwards design. But every so often, something shows up that you didn't design for. A comment in a coaching call that reveals a whole segment of your audience that you didn't know existed. A pattern in your data you noticed on a Tuesday for no particular reason. A random tangent on a training call that turns out to be the best content of the week. If you're only watching for what you planned to measure, you're going to miss it. The goldfinch doesn't show up if you're only looking at the tomatoes. So here's what I'd ask you to do this week. It's not a big project, just a habit to start. When something unexpected shows up in your program, your classroom, your onboard training, your coaching calls, your content, write it down, even if you don't know what to do with it. You know, especially if you don't know what to do with it. Keep a running list. Name it. Call it whatever you want. Call it goldfinches, because you don't always know which one of those is going to turn into your next best idea. Sometimes it's fuel, sometimes it's the whole talk. That instinct, noticing the data that you didn't plan for, is actually going to be a big part of what's coming up soon here on the show. And it's a muscle that you're going to have to work to get good at. I'm building out a whole series on evaluation and what I've started calling evidence architecture. How to design the proof into your program from the start instead of bolting a survey on at the end. That's coming up later. For now, though, go plant some basil, metaphorically or literally, and tell me what grows. Remember, you can respond to any email from me with podcast share in the subject, and I'll be sure to read it. And if you're not on my newsletter yet, you can go to www.reneekoster.com forward. I'll see you next time.